Good afternoon and welcome to a special edition of The Express here on beIN Sports. Jeremy St. Louis alongside Ray Hudson and Thomas Rongen, one of the biggest teams in all of world football. In the reigning three-time European Cup champions are looking for a new manager after Zinedine Zidane handed in his resignation on Thursday. That's what we're here to talk about this afternoon for the next half hour. Ray, you were on Sirius XM this morning getting set to do your regular football show. The news comes in. What's your reaction to that?
What? It was like sensational. I mean, it was cataclysmic news and shocking for me. I know there's been a lot of other commentators said they're not surprised and they're taking that sort of role. Are you seriously kidding me? I mean, this is a man who has been to the top of football's mountains. He was the greatest manager for Real Madrid in my eyes, in how he personified the soul of Real Madrid and how he handled all the egos and all of the tactics year in, year out. 3 champions, consecutive leagues, Thomas, and a La Liga. In that team that won La Liga over Barcelona and Atletico Madrid last season was absolutely magnificent. This year, not so much, right, but then he tops it with his third consecutive.
And you're right, Ray. This is a guy that's been part of the institution for how long? Yep. You know, as in management, True. Obviously with the B team now here. The love for this club, similar to Iniesta had with Barcelona. This is my club. I'm going to stay here. I'm going to retire here. And Rock is right, we talked about it. In the last game, the inspiration, the sidelines, not a hint of what's going to come leading up to this game or throughout the last month. Yep. Any of those coaches, look at Conte, you look at all those guys, they drop hints all the time.
That's right.
He didn't, and he walked away on his own account, which is pretty brilliant.
He wore that inner turmoil that he must have been going through, because this is not a snap decision. This has been something that he's been contemplating. You know, the relationship with Florentino Perez, that's a very big suspicious note. There was rumours that I heard that were really serious ones, that no matter what happens, Zidane will be removed at the end of this year.
Wow. Really?
Whether or not that's the case, you know,
sure Bale, the Ronaldo saga, all those things played a role, maybe,
at the end of that final, for him to hear Ronaldo talking about him and being out of the picture, and thank you Real Madrid and all of this, and Gareth Bale, which I can understand Gareth's emotion a little bit more, Jeremy, but 2 of his star players. But this is one of the big things as well for me, Thomas, is this team is going to need some serious, not reconstruction, but embellishments. They're going to need some players coming to the end. This Neymar rumour will not go away. How does that sit with the great man? There's a lot of questions that are still unanswered, but
there
he
might have
had
been
enough.
A conflict we didn't know about. Maybe Zidane says there's no way I'm going to take Neymar, because Zidane, throughout his 2.5 years there, has done what he wanted throughout, on the field, off the field. So there might have been a conflict there. The Gareth Bale situation, Ronaldo situation as well.
Keylor Navas, the goalkeeper situation.
And in Prumto, 7 a.m., Rock.
Yeah.
That means something happened and somebody said it's going to be done tomorrow at 7. Let's do it. Right. And was it Zidane? Was it Perez? Was it a force that we don't know?
When you saw the countenance in Perez's face as well, it was as if he was pretty much ambivalent to it all. Yeah. You know, who's going to be able to come into this role with that ego, with that the prima donnas that Real Madrid have got in that team? He just massaged it all the way over 3 seasons. Yeah. All this belly aching about, we need a world-class goalkeeper that sells shirts. I don't need them. I don't need new midfield players. We're happy with what we've got. Brilliant. Champions League, Champions League, Champions League, all winners. La Liga, amazing. This season for La Liga, Thomas, it was a little bit disappointing, 17 behind Barcelona, but that's not the reason. There's something extra that went on here for Zidane. And the class that he shows in saying, it's not the players, it's not my president, this is all about me. And that's what Zidane does, Jeremy. It was always the deflection. It was not, he wasn't the peacock on the sidelines. This wasn't a braggadocio man. This was a quiet influence all the way through, steady as the Northern Star, and he proved to be twice as radioactive.
Responded, and his players respected him.
Yes.
And over 3 years, just to have the Morata situation, but having players that played for their national teams, buying into the rotation system, and all these other things that came with them. Brilliant performance by Zizou. We're going to miss him.
The quiet confidence of Zidane and the obvious level of respect that the team had for him was certainly very evident. Zizou went before the media this morning. Here he is announcing his decision.
Tomé la decisión de no seguir el próximo año en el cargo de entrenador del Real Madrid. Hablé con él para explicar un poco lo que pensaba y yo creo que es el momento para todos. Bueno, lo primero para mí, pero para la plantilla, para el club, yo sé que es un momento un poco raro, pero yo creo que es un momento importante y es un momento, había que hacer eso para todos.
Obviously, there has been social media reaction from the players that Zinedine Zidane so brilliantly coached. The pressure to manage a club like Real Madrid is beyond intense, not just the team on the field, but the brand, the egos. I mean, we cannot even fathom it. Sergio Ramos commenting, Toni Kroos we've got coming up. Do you believe him, Ray, that he's doing this for the best of the club, or do you honestly believe that there are other forces at work here?
It may be a case of both influences, Jeremy. Everywhere that he's going to go from here on in is going to be a step down. And I don't care what anybody says, whether he goes to Marseille again, his boyhood club, whether he goes to PSG, whether he goes to the French national team. After the mountains that he has set, the standards that he has set, he was perfect, the perfect man for this job, and whether or not there were other influences, only time's going to tell.
Tommy, let me ask you this question, okay? We saw Pep Guardiola do it with Barcelona, Luis Enrique do it with Barcelona, other managers are more commonly doing it, certainly with big teams. Now we've got Zidane stepping away. Is this what management of big modern football teams is all about? The pressure, it's not sustainable over a long period of time anymore.
It is hard, but if one has shown in a short amount of time he can handle it with ease, quite frankly, it's Zidane. But this team, we looked at the starting 11s. The starting 11s in the last UCL, which is 2016-17 and 17-18, were exactly the same, Rock.
Yeah.
If you go back 3 or 4 years to 2012-13, when they won the first one, there was only one change. Bale actually started. That was the introduction to BBC. He's smart enough to realize, too, that this team has been with him and has heard the same voice over and over and over again, that it might be very hard to motivate this team again and to get all those players. As Rock said, it needs some changes. Yeah. And I don't know if he was willing to do that. And
he says that himself. He says it needs a fresh face. That's exactly words. And
I think he's right, actually.
Again, the class of him, though.
But that's
how many managers say that at that point and then step away? They don't do it. You know, those players the managers that you were talking about before, Jeremy, these aren't people that stepped away. These are players basically that got burnt out the way Guardiola got burnt out. He says, I've had enough. But Zidane is taking a different way. He's saying, this is my club. They need a different voice. They need this is.
I think he might actually do it.
Pure class.
But that's also, he thinks it's better for the club that he loves.
Right.
And he can walk away and have another voice come in and do what he's done for 3 years, maybe.
And I think that's also just a signature that he knows exactly the temperature of his team and that it was time for a refresh. All right, we're going to take a quick break, speaking of a refresh, but still plenty more to discuss on Zinedine Zidane's departure from Real Madrid. Stay with us. The special edition of The Express. We'll be right back. Welcome back to this special edition of The Express here on beIN Sports. The football world in a state of shock Thursday with news that Real Madrid manager Zinedine Zidane has resigned. The list of accomplishments for Zizou is unbelievable for a guy who had never managed a top-flight team before. Ray, how will you remember Zidane when it comes to his time at Real Madrid?
Absolute winner. And again, I go back to the expression, a perfect man for this job. They couldn't, in the future or in the past, have trumpeted their bugle for a man with that prestige, with that demeanour, with that knowledge, with that, what I call a little touch of Harry in the night, as Shakespeare says, the communication with his team that are filled with all world superstars, world-class players. He smoothed those waters. And what I loved about him more than anything is the belief he kept on players that the president and a lot of Madridistas wanted out of that team. And you saw from the wonderful lineup there, 11 titles, or was it 10? 10 titles altogether that he's won in those 3 years. Astonishing achievements, and he did it his way. He did it his way. This isn't a man who gesticulates and speaks out loud in the press, doesn't blame players, doesn't throw his players under the bus like a lot of damn managers do in the modern day, doesn't talk about the president and the money that he hasn't been, just got on with his job and produced the silverware. Amazing.
And remarkable, too, that a lot of great players don't make great coaches.
Yeah.
He gets, I think at the end of this century, when is the end of the century? Rock, you know? No idea. We look back, well, not you, not the three of us, we'll look back and say that he was a guy that changed soccer to a certain extent. He walked in a broken locker room. He totally cleaned that up.
From the Benitez days.
He didn't have any innovative tactics. He actually,
nobody believed he could do it. Nobody believed he could do it.
His simplicity, I think, at the end of the day, his consistency, as Rock said, in the way he dealt with players, the press, his president, never wavered, was just unbelievable. And you put him in the category of former player Cruyff, being a winning manager, Beckenbauer being a winning manager as well. And then you got to put him up there with Bob Paisley and Ancelotti in terms of, which is incredible in 3 years.
Unquestionably, but I think the one thing, and I always protected Zidane throughout his career from long knives when things weren't going too well. And because I felt that communication with this club, with this team, was something very special that we were watching. And he was going to produce. I didn't even think that he could do 3 consecutively. But the thing is, Jeremy, he didn't produce a team out of the Ajax system. He didn't produce a team out of Sachi's Milan. He didn't produce a team out of Guardiola's Barcelona. But what he did, this wasn't a team that altered the way the football game was played, but it was winning. It was pure, blunt power, the way he wins.
And the guys he surrounded himself with were unbelievable. The fitness coach that he used to have when he played in Italy, he brought with him as well. His assistant that's been together. Those 2 guys, French, have been together as well. And they introduced new methods in terms of the way they played. They peaked really 2 ways. In November and December, and in April and May. And if you look at the results, because the biggest games normally at the end of the year, the Clásicos, the finals of a Champions League as well, and he wanted to win La Liga, but he was very smart in macro managing the physical aspects of the game, different than anybody else. And his team peaked around the Club World Championship, around the Champions League final as well. Absolutely brilliant and a little bit different than most other teams.
I love the way he stepped aside now. I love that. I love this stepping aside. Not just leaving them wanting more, but just the manner in which he departed, I think, personifies him on top of everything else.
Following the Champions League final, we saw Cristiano Ronaldo, Gareth Bale throw their futures at the club into doubt, and a number of Real Madrid players have been linked with moves away this summer. I mean, that is nothing new. But what does Zidane's departure mean for the likes of Bale and Ronaldo in terms of where their futures may lie?
Well, he certainly beat Ronaldo to the punch about leaving the team, didn't he? I mean, he got his...
Ronaldo said he might do it. Zidane actually just did it.
Yeah. So he did it again. There's a lot of rebuilding to be done. Some of the players coming to the end of the plateau of their career. And maybe this president and the board said, listen, we're going to get Neymar, or we're done with Benzema.
They have to do something big right now.
A lot of rebuilding going on,
Right now, Zidane, next to Ronaldo, is probably the most important part of this 2.5 years. So you lose an icon, a big name, a great coach that has accomplished so much as well. 10 trophies in 2.5, 3 years. So Perez needs to say, do I bring in a big name?
Right.
Or do we take a gamble with somebody within our system. Which is...
Guti.
Exactly. His former teammate has been there for 400 games and has been there to beat him.
Raúl? Raul's one.
Don't get too
even
far ahead.
Better than
Don't get too far. We're going to
No,
talk.
let's get ahead.
We're going to talk about that. Okay, we're going to take another quick break here, but still plenty more to discuss on Zidane's departure from Real Madrid. Stay with us. This special edition of The Express. We'll be right back.
Lo que pienso es que este equipo debe seguir ganando y necesita un cambio para eso. Yo creo que después de 3 años necesito otro discurso, seguramente otra metodología de trabajo, y por eso que tomé esta decisión, porque quiero mucho a este club. Yo creo que también al Presi, que me ha dado la oportunidad de venir jugando al Madrid, a este gran club, y siempre desearía agradecer toda mi vida.
All right, so now, within an hour of Zidane announcing his departure, the list of potential replacements has come out, and here are the top 5 replacements that are being touted at this point in time. Arsene Wenger, the only one that is without a job, although Antonio Conte is expected to leave Chelsea at any day. And Joachim Löw is in there. He's, of course, taking Germany to the World Cup. Mauricio Pochettino, that's a good choice, but you guys mentioned a couple as well. Guti, maybe is a name that's been thrown about.
Yeah.
What qualities does the Real Madrid manager have to have?
You've got to have everything. I mean, he has to have the resilience and the character that you can throw all the daggers and stones at him and still stand up. He's got to have that tactical awareness, obviously. He's got to be a motivator. He's got to be a communicator. He's got to have that authority to touch massive egos and still get the best out of them. This is a very specialised job. In the past, we've seen players, coaches that have had all of those things at Real Madrid, being all of that and more, and lost and being booed off of the Santiago Bernabeu.
Who would you pick at this point in time?
Well, is that the list available to us? Okay.
No. You pick who you want. They have to be on the list. They don't have to be on the list.
I think that Jogi Löw, Guti, Pochettino are the best in terms of the club's philosophy, the playing style, believing in young players, good men managers. But I think they need somebody that is similar to Zidane in terms of what he's done in the past as a player. He walked in that door with Madrid and he was Zidane. That doesn't mean that he was going to succeed. But if they bring in Jogi Löw, Ronaldo might look at him going, yeah, you've done okay with Germany, what else? It's a very tough one, and they can't make it. Perez cannot make a mistake. So the easiest way for him to solve this is we're bringing in another Zidane, a Spanish international, 400 games for Real Madrid. So Guti, you're our guy. We had success before. We will continue this trend. That would be the easiest way to solve it.
It's a big, brave, bold move. And they've went down there once and they've been rewarded. I'm not so sure that they would do it again. But it's a distinct possibility. And don't forget, Raul is another one who is got the name.
If you were Perez, who would you pick?
I think I would go... Oh, can I say that on the air? I'd go all out for Pochettino.
Pochettino.
I agree with you. And there's a rumor that apparently, although he signed a 5-year contract, that he has a clause in there that if Real Madrid and Barca come knocking, he can leave. I don't know if that's true, yes or no, but Poch would be the best in terms of... he checks all the boxes that you mentioned.
We all know that those contracts are not worth the paper that they're written on when push comes to shove and money starts getting tossed around. So,
buying a 5-year contract?
Yeah.
Oof. For
sure. We're going to have plenty more on the resignation of Zinedine Zidane coming up on the Extra tonight at 7 p.m. Eastern. Ray Hudson and I will continue the discussion then, including we polled all of the beIN talent to see who they would pick as Real Madrid's next manager. We'll share that with you coming up tonight at 7 p.m. Eastern time. Gentlemen, thank you very much.
Thanks, Jeremy.
It's going to be interesting to see what the future holds for Zidane himself now. Everybody's talking about what happens with Real Madrid, but it'll be interesting to see
French
what happens
national
with
team
Zinedine Zidane. There you go. You heard it here first. All right. Until 7 o'clock tonight, from all of us here at beIN Sports, thank you so much for watching. Coming up next, our continuing coverage of the Toulon tournament as Canada faces Turkey in a critical Group C match. Go Canada! Bye for now.